If you think this mad medalist is something, wait till you see his friends. For this is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a whole town gone mad for a football team. After 40 years of frustration, Art Rooney's Pittsburgh Steelers are on the verge of their first championship of any kind ever. And the rabid Steeler fans are making the most of it. There are fan clubs galore. There's running back Franco Harris's Italian Army. Harris, almost certain to be Rookie of the Year, is the child of a black American father and the bride he met in Italy as a GI in World War II. Then there's Girala's Gorillas, named for Roy Girala, a 24-year-old place kicker from Powell River, British Columbia, who was picked up on waivers from the Houston Oilers 2 years ago. The defense is represented by linebacker Jack Ham, another Penn State alumnus. His fan club calls him Dobra Shonka, which is Slovak for great ham. But Pittsburgh's love affair encompasses all 40 men on the team, and though it's the youngsters like Harris, Ham, Terry Bradshaw, and Frank Lewis that have captured the headlines, as the team prepared for its most important game of the year against the Browns, the game, and in a real sense the season, was dedicated to the Steeler old-timers, those predictable losers who never quit believing this day would come. According to Steeler captain Andy Russell, many were thinking of retiring, but stayed to get this one shot. This game with Cleveland had special meaning to players like Ray Mansfield, Ben McGee, John Brown, and Andy Russell himself. The Browns, like Pittsburgh, came into the game with an excellent 8-3 record. Cleveland had won 6 straight, including a come-from-behind thriller against these same Steelers only 2 weeks before. The Browns have not lost a single game on the road this year, but today something had to give, for the Steelers were unbeaten at home. And so the stage was set for a mighty confrontation in Three Rivers Stadium. Today, a title was the prize. For Cleveland, this was traditional. For Pittsburgh, it was 40 years coming. For finally, this is the year of ascendancy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the NFL Game of the Week, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland won the toss and began moving immediately on the individual efforts of Fair Hooker, who juked his way to a first down. But 2 plays later came the first big break of the ball game. Watch number 53, Henry Davis, grab Bo Scott's arm, forcing a fumble that Andy Russell recovered on the Browns' 34-yard line. Pittsburgh had an excellent opportunity in their first offensive series. Standing in their way was a Cleveland defense that has been a major factor in the Browns' 6-game winning streak. The 2 tackles, numbers 71 and 72, Walter Johnson and Jerry Shirk, have been the big story here, for Cleveland has lost no less than 4 starting defensive ends: Jack Gregory, Turkey Jones, Ron Snido, and top rookie Lester Sims. Replacing them, number 87, injured Rich Jackson, and a converted tackle, Bob Briggs. The instrument of destruction to be used against them was Franco Harris, one of the biggest surprises of the NFL season. The battering bruiser from Penn State went into the game seeking his 6th consecutive 100-yard effort in an attempt to tie a record held by the great Jim Brown, with whom he has been compared. On this first Steeler series, the Cleveland defense keyed on Harris successfully. Here, good pursuit by one of their no-name defensive ends, Bob Briggs, threw Harris for a 5-yard loss. On 3rd down, Jerry Shirk sacked Bradshaw for a 9-yard loss. Due to their weakened situation at end, Cleveland has relied on their tackles to pressure enemy quarterbacks. They have done so well, their 30 sacks is only 1 behind the Steelers' fine front 4. So from the 36, Roy Girella's kick was straight and true. Girella's Gorillas saluted their hero, and Pittsburgh had drawn first blood in this vital game, 3-0. Now it was Cleveland's turn on offense. All along, the Browns felt they could not afford to fall behind on the Steelers' home field. So it was up to young Mike Phipps. Phipps gave to Leroy Kelly, who was hit hard at the line by Andy Russell, number 34. All day long, the play of the Steeler linebackers would haunt the Browns. On the next play, Phipps again went to Kelly, this time through the air, and a great catch produced a Cleveland first down. Thus began a long Cleveland drive spearheaded by Mike Phipps that would consume nearly 10 minutes, the remainder of the first quarter. Phipps' running got the yardage, sometimes by design, sometimes under intense pressure by the Steeler front line. This is just one of the new facets Phipps brings to the Browns' attack. Under Bill Nelson, Cleveland was limited, but Phipps possesses not only the strong arm, but also the strong legs and body necessary for a pro quarterback today. Phipps was moving his team steadily downfield, but a disquieting note for Cleveland was that his running often came because no receivers were available to receive his passes. The Steelers secondary was atoning for its play 2 weeks ago when Phipps riddled them with successful passes. Today, they completely shut off the Cleveland passing game. At the 29, the Steeler defense finally held, and Girella's Gorillas put the hex sign on Cleveland kicker Don Cockcroft. His attempt from the 37 was wide to the left as the quarter ended. Cleveland's first series of the second quarter was important in that it served to demonstrate what the Pittsburgh defense would dish out for the rest of the game. Led by linebacker Jack Ham, number 59, the Steelers stopped the Browns every way possible: the running game, short passing game, and the long bomb. Cleveland was ranked third in pass defense, but it was the sometimes maligned Steeler secondary that today rose to the occasion. The Steeler front four, knowing that Phipps had to pass, really teed off on Phipps and sacked him on third down. This was the first, but certainly not the last time they would get to Phipps today. As the defense left the field after holding Cleveland on their first offensive series for the second quarter, the crowd of 50,350 gave their heroes a standing ovation. Little did they know just how much it was deserved, for never again would Cleveland cross midfield against the steel curtain. While coach Chuck Noll and his quarterback plotted strategy, Cleveland kicker Don Cockcroft was getting off a poor punt that gave Pittsburgh field position near midfield. Then Terry Bradshaw, after a fake to Franco Harris, found his tight end John McMakin all alone. The rookie from Clemson took the ball 27 yards to the Cleveland 30. From there, the Pittsburgh strategy was less complex. Bradshaw simply gave the ball to Franco Harris. Harris's touchdown from the 1 was his 9th of the year. Pittsburgh now led 10-0. Phipps now had to pass long, something he does very well. But Frank Pitts, with some help from number 23 Mike Wagner, couldn't hold on to the ball. This was the second bomb that barely missed detonating for Cleveland. Pitts had beaten his man. Phipps had laid the ball right in there, yet the Browns still had nothing to show for it. A view from the end zone shows how Phipps threw the long pass with little effort, and the punctuation put on the play by Ernie Holmes. The Steeler defense received their accustomed plaudits from the fans, then continued to apply pressure to Cleveland's young quarterback. Phipps had shown commendable poise under great pressure all year long. Today was no exception, but you're not going to beat a team of Pittsburgh's caliber with a running quarterback. So devastating was the Steel Curtain defense that Cleveland's passing statistics at the end of the first half, a net total of 1 yard passing. Still, the Steeler lead was a mere 10 points, and an entire half remained in this crucial contest for the lead in the American Conference's Central Division. The Steelers not only had the lead, they had the celebrities. An unknown juggler from a Bulgarian circus troupe, and of course, Mr. Fun and Games himself, Soupy Sales. On the field, there were no fun and games. The teams had played the first half relatively even, the Steelers with an edge only on the scoreboard. Bradshaw changed strategy to start the third quarter, going to the pass, trying to open up the Browns' defense since his running game had not worked that well. But on his first series, Bradshaw failed to move the club past midfield by way of the pass, and Cleveland took over. Down by 10, the Browns were still very much in the game. Phipps stayed on the ground on his first series, but with no success. Cleveland's ground game had fared well early in the game, but their passing attack continued to fail badly. As Phipps forced his throw to Glass, Jack Ham came up with his 6th interception of the year, punctuating the theft with a circus finish of his own. Ham's theft meant nothing, however, for on the following play, Bradshaw's play fake to Harris was poorly disguised. The Browns were waiting for him and caused a turnover of their own. The Browns then began perhaps their key series of the game. Behind a block by Bo Scott, Leroy Kelly began to carve huge chunks from the stingy Steelers defense. Kelly sparked the move from their 7 to near midfield, and then disaster struck again. Watch right tackle number 63, Ernie Holmes, make a perfect arm tackle on Kelly, stripping the ball clean. Andy Russell recovered, and the Browns, who are always among the leaders in fewest turnovers allowed, had made their 3rd of the game. This one would cost them. Franco Harris had been stymied for most of the game, but sooner or later he'll get to you, and the time was now. It's a shame Harris does not get credit for runs like this one, or he'd probably gain 2,000 yards. Then it was Harris again behind number 66, Bruce Van Dyke. The Steelers usually get Harris more yards off their left side, a tribute to pulling guard Van Dyke, left tackle John Kolb, and left guard Sam Davis. A few plays later, Harris shot behind Kolb and Van Dyke blocks over left tackle for the score. A repeat of the score picks up Harris on the delay and shows his strength close up. Like all superb runners, Harris needs only that initial line block, and he's good for 5, 10, or 20 yards, purely on his own tremendous strength and balance. Harris's 10th touchdown of the season made it 17-0 Pittsburgh. The Steeler line had been playing a containment game, not blowing in, wary of traps, draws, and screens, and wary of Phipps running. Now up by 17, they surprisingly followed the same strategy, but it continued to work as Phipps couldn't find receivers. Watch number 34, Andy Russell, as he waits and then converges on Phipps, again unable to find his men. Well covered by the Steeler secondary. The Browns gave up the ball as the third quarter ended. On the second play of the final quarter, the Steelers buried the Browns, although you'd never know by this isolated shot of Bradshaw's reaction. On a replay, we will see what finished them off. Not all passes are designed to score. This was, but not for the man who scored. Tight end John McMakin was in the same line of sight as Shanklin and took Bradshaw's shot all the way for his first pro touchdown. The Steelers have really trimmed the fat off their passing game this season. Bradshaw has thrown less, but made them count, and more importantly, has thrown far fewer interceptions. He deserves as much credit for the Cinderella Gang showing as anyone, and his touchdown pass made it 24-0. Another reason for their showing has been the bomb squad. When Jarrella wasn't booming them into the end zone, which was rare, the headhunters took over. The Steeler defense had been in complete charge since the first quarter, continued to dominate the Browns in the last. The Browns did not cross midfield once in the final half, and the fury of the Steelers' rush was being heard, seen, and felt by Phipps passing on every play. Watch Joe Green beat Damari to Phipps on this play. The Steeler defense does not rank high in the standings, but this is because the standings are based on total yards allowed. Far more significant in a game's outcome are sacks, interceptions, and fumbles caused, and Pittsburgh is at the top in all three categories. Finally, only the Redskins have allowed fewer points in all of football, so the Steeler defense is for real, and they stifled Cleveland as they did Minnesota the week before. The rest of the game belonged to two of the strongest men in offensive football. With the exception of Bobby Douglas, Terry Bradshaw has to be the toughest quarterback in the game. He has made the scramble keeper and quarterback sneak deadly weapons in the Steelers' arsenal. Bradshaw has matured immensely in 3 years. His arm always was dynamite, but he has let up a bit on his velocity and has gotten more accurate. Late in the game, he just missed another score and settled for a field goal. Minutes later, he did throw a beautiful pass to Frank Lewis, but it was nullified due to a penalty. In the end, however, the game belonged to another of the recent draft picks that have yielded so much for the Steelers. Bradshaw, Joe Green, Jack Ham, and finally rookie Franco Harris. Harris had been held in check for much of the game and needed 35 yards with 9 minutes to play to go over 100 for the 6th straight week. And so they gave him the ball on every down, and Franco ground it out and kept the drive going for 8 of the 9 minutes. Finally, he made it, tying Jim Brown's record, giving him 960 for the season and a cinch to break 1,000 as a rookie. Only Beatty Feathers, Cookie Gilchrist, Paul Robinson, and John Brockington have done it. So Franco watch as the game was played out. Send in the scrubs, such as Rocky Blyer, number 20. Cue the gorilla for a final close-up. And cue Jarella for a final field goal. So the Steelers had won their bitter battle with the Browns in a not-so-bitter, convincingly easy manner. Their 30-0 victory was their first shutout in 9 years, and it underscored their rise to power. For defense is the name of the championship game, and the Steelers have it. Defense, running, passing. They seem to have it all, and only a minor miracle will keep them from the playoffs and a division title, their first ever. It's been a long time coming, and their fans can't wait.